Okay. He's not here? No. We'll skip him.
No police, no law department.
Sequence of things that we jump onto.
Who's this? O'clock. We're gonna get started. Is the meeting posted?
Yes.
Okay, we'll jump, go ahead. We're gonna go down to,
What we're, in anticipation of certain people have yet to arrive, the commission will now proceed along the agenda to the item known as Common Vittler. And the item pertains to the appearance of John Vanellis, the president and manager of record for Captain Jason's Inc., accompanied by Arthur C. Sullivan Jr., the attorney for Captain Jason's Inc., on the proposed sale of assets of the malt beverages and wine only restaurant at 1334 Middlesex Street.
do we have the agreement, Ryan? We have the agreement? Paperwork?
No.
Oh, you hadn't turned it in? Okay, sorry, I thought you did. Introduce yourself for the record, please.
You may have to turn that mic on. Just tap it until you get the green light.
When the green light appears, then you're on.
I think I'm on now.
All right, you are. Introduce yourself for the record, please.
My name is Arthur Sullivan, and I'm here on behalf of Mr. John Vanellis, who is with me to my right, and Captain Jason's Pizza.
Okay,
What we're really doing here today is trying to get some guidance from the board. Mr. Vanellis owns the land known as 1334 Middlesex Street, and he owns the corporation known as Captain Jason's Pizza. He is selling the land and some assets of the business to a Mr. Sevropoulos, who happens to be the next person on your agenda. Currently, Captain Jason's has a beer and wine license and has a common victualer's license. The beer and wine license will not be transferred. The plan is to surrender and cancel the beer and wine license. It's my understanding that when we do present the license for cancellation, we must have made sure that all liquor inventory has been removed from the premises, all signs and all equipment. That'd be draft taps and the like. We are hoping to close on the 28th of September, next Tuesday, and I'm hoping that the board will approve a procedure whereby we simply deliver the license and any other paperwork that the board requires to your secretary, Mr. Wynn, rather than having to do it formally at a meeting. On the common victuals license, the intention would be, again at closing, to surrender the license. It is my understanding that your practice would then be to request a inspection by the Board of Health, and if the premises pass that inspection, then you could authorize the issuance of a new common victuals license. And we would ask, we're hoping that you'll allow us to do it that way again by dealing with your secretary, Mr. Wynn, but if you wish us to come back, we will.
What I'm gathering is you just want to get us to pre-approve this because the timing of the transfer didn't happen prior to this meeting. You just don't want there to be a gap in
If that's
business
possible.
operation?
If that's possible.
Okay, that makes sense.
Can they just bring the license in and?
Sure, it's just so that the commission is now, as Attorney Sullivan has just indicated, that the license would be surrendered to be canceled, and effectively that would free up the premises for a new license application, which in fact, there is such an application on file, and that is filed by Peter Stavropoulos to do business as Angelina's Pizzeria and Subs for that same premises for common vittler's license. And as Attorney Sullivan just indicated, the health inspection for Angelina's would be required in order for a new license to be issued. But it would, so it's just because of the tentative date for the closing, as I understand it, that the office, the License Commission wouldn't want to be in the precarious position where an applicant for a new license is anxious to receive the license, but I have no direct means of ascertaining whether in fact this license should be canceled out today, tomorrow, or next week, and whatever. So I would hope that the License Commission, hearing what Attorney Sullivan had just proposed, that the License Commission would then now leave it in such a way that concede to the fact that the license would be surrendered and canceled before any new license is issued.
So Arthur, you're just gonna bring in the license after the closing, the 2 licenses?
Yes. The intention, current intention would be to conduct the closing and then put everything in escrow, come in and surrender the licenses, and then record the deed and the bill of sale, and that would, once the licenses were
Just
surrendered.
out of curiosity, he has no intentions of applying later on for a beer and wine license?
Mr. Stavropoulos, I do not know.
Doesn't matter.
That would, if he wishes to in the future, that's his, he is not acquiring the current license, and we're
I think what he's actually proposing is neater, because then we don't have a limbo period where there's a license floating
Right.
out there and a manager of record that's
Yeah,
not
but how do we know
on the
the guy?
premises. Because he's removing all the equipment and the appurtenances as well as the
How do we know the
taps.
fellow that owns it now has paid his taxes?
What's the difference? Why is that of any concern to us?
Well, because,
That's between,
That's between him and,
well,
In terms of the
Boston
premises
normally would look
present-
at it and kick it back and say, that's a new, you know, if, I'm just, you know,
There's no
we know that they've
no
done that
pending
before.
application for
No.
transfer of the beer and wine
Right.
license. So in terms of any,
They wouldn't kick it against us.
the Department of Revenue at this point would not have would be not directly involved in
Right.
the transaction because there'd be no local board approval subject to the Alcohol Beverages Control Commission.
Right.
The thing is that, as I understand it, there is nothing in regards to the city treasurer's office that indicate that the property or
There's any liens
the
on it.
tax title or there's any lien
Yeah.
on the
We-
property.
Just that, we have had cases where people give up the license, and then they apply for a new license, and when it goes to Boston, they look at it and say, wait a minute, you know, it's really a transfer of a license, because there was one there. That's all I'm concerned about, is that making sure that whatever they decide to do down the road, if he decided, you know, later on to apply for a beer and wine license, that we don't get, you know, caught in the
well, I'm
middle.
sure he's represented by a
Yeah.
competent attorney that'll make sure.
I'm sure,
that-
yeah. And I
Listen
think,
to this.
no, I think his plan is
Okay,
actually very
I
neat,
think
because
it's
it
a great
basically
idea.
escrows
I
everything.
was just
turns it in.
curious as to how that would be handled,
Yeah,
that's all.
I don't know.
No
But
problem.
he's getting
Nothing
the jump
personal,
on it,
just-
well, by bringing it to us early, he's getting the jump on it so
Yeah.
it can go through.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to approve the acceptance of the licenses for cancellation
Upon presentation.
upon presentation.
That way I'll leave it open for
And-
you. Is that right?
Now,
I guess-
Did you want to hear from the applicant himself as to,
And Mr. Stavropoulos is applying for
right?
Yeah,
a
but
new
that's-
license to take place at that time. If you could come up to, just take that.
Yeah. Introduce yourself for the record, please.
I am Peter Stavropoulos.
Okay.
So after they surrender the license, the health department's gonna come in and do an inspection, and if everything proceeds, you would get your license.
And you'd,
Okay, basically, this deal is all contingent upon us receiving a common victuals license. And we put in the application, and we did go down to the health department, yet I'm getting controversy on when this inspection should be done. On your application guidelines, it says that an inspection is done before the issuance of a common victuals license. And when I went to the Board of Health, I was gonna talk to Laura, and she wasn't there, and Bernard, I think it was his name,
yeah, Bernie.
said, "No, I've been doing this for years. No, we come in after you already have your common victuals license and inspect." So then he was like kind of flustered, so he called Mr. Ryan, and he came back to me and said, because I was in his office, said, "No, we come in after you receive your common victuals license," which doesn't, to me, is like two different understandings here. So which is it of the two?
Well, without getting the License Commission involved with the bureaucracy, if you will, on the justification for when an inspection is done and when a license is issued, but it's been a practice of the office, License Commission, speaking from the License Commission office, that any time a new license is issued, even though that application has been filed, it's important that we know that the health inspection has been
done.
complete and satisfactory. And then, otherwise, if I issue the common vittler's license and there is an issue with the premises, then the license is still, as far as the License Commission is concerned, is still in good standing without any information to say otherwise. But I can respect the office of the Board of Health in regards to what Inspector Bernard Clancy is saying, and that is that they have the wherewithal. State law allows the health department to close an establishment forthwith. There's no requirement for a hearing, like the licensing board would be compelled to hold a hearing to say cancel or to revoke a license for common vittler, where you would have to give the licensee due process, due notice of hearing. The health inspector can go in tomorrow morning to Captain Jason's and find that there's a problem with the premises, not to say that that is the case,
Yeah.
but just to say, and for example, then you could say you're closed down right now, you're not gonna do any more business until all this and this is done to clean up the premises, and that may take 24 to 48 hours to complete that cleanup process.
Sure.
That might be one scenario from where the inspector from the health department is coming from. However, for purposes of my dealings with applicants, and the question is whether the commission wants the health inspection done, it has been a practice to have such a health inspection prior to the issuance of the license.
Fire. Doesn't he have to have a fire inspection too? And they have to-
It's not a prerequisite for the issuance of the license for common vittler, unlike it would be for the beer and wine licensee with the common vittler.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, he should have the inspection done before we issue the license, because, you know, God forbid something goes wrong, or they, or, you know, something, you know, people start getting sick and they say, hey, you know, they gave us a license, you know? I mean, I can't see anything wrong, but, that, you know, could go wrong for you, but,
Well, why don't we then just say that, you know, we'll approve the issuance of a license upon the Board of Health inspection, but you can now represent to the Board of Health that we've approved the issuance of the license. You know, because they say they don't do the inspection until you've got a license. We're
Again-
saying you have the license as soon as they've got their
Okay,
John Hancock on that.
again, like I said, the business is up and running, the health department inspects it twice a year. Like Mr. Ryan said, if there was an issue, they can shut them down whenever they want. That hasn't
what
been the
business
case.
do you run?
No, that's the business he's purchasing. The,
Oh, I thought he said he
Captain-
ran
No,
a
no, we're
business.
talking
No,
about
he
Captain
said
Jason's
your business
Pizza.
is up and running.
Your health department
Yeah.
inspects it twice a year, so it's up to par as far as I know, or else it would have been closed down.
Sure.
But the only discrepancy was when that inspection gets done, if it's necessary to get it done before you issue my common victors, because this whole transaction is contingent upon him giving in his license and me receiving my common victor's license.
Well, after today's meeting, once we approve your application, you can tell the health department
You got it.
that you got your license pending their inspection.
and we'll just go ahead and schedule that inspection, maybe.
I can, if I
Maybe
may,
you
I
can
can
get it done on
email
Tuesday.
the health inspector
Yes.
about that.
Yeah.
Okay,
That would
so
be
is that a
great.
motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the application of Mr. Stavropoulos.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Close
Hey,
enough.
listen to that.
All right, I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Took a vote on,
and we did take a vote on
We
that.
voted to approve the
to
surrender.
approve, great.
Upon present, so they can coordinate that effort between them.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm sure Attorney Sullivan will get it squared away.
Okay.
So,
Thank you very much.
all right.
You're welcome.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. We always had people sit down before. Okay, next on the agenda.
While we're on the subject of common vittler licenses, we may as well continue, since
Yeah.
the parties involved with that application are here. The application by Saroy Corporation DBA Supers Pizza and Subs, Nandish A. Patel is the president for premises at 94 University Avenue. Presently, there is a licensee, Supers Pizza Inc., Jamie P. Super, the manager. It's a malt beverage and wine only restaurant license for 94 University Ave. And license holder also for a license for common victular for said premises at 94 University Ave. Will all the parties please come to the lecture?
You can stand right at the podium there.
Yeah. Just introduce yourself for the record, please.
Jamie Super.
Nandish Patel, President of Saroj Corp.
Okay.
Let me just,
Yeah,
Mr. Super and I have a little history with
Right.
one another in terms of our
Oh.
relationship on this license and even previous to this particular situation. It's my understanding, and Mr. Super is certainly going to correct me if I'm wrong, he does not want to surrender the beer and wine license.
I'm surrendering it.
You're going to surrender it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then I leave it to you, Mr. Super, to carry on.
Okay. I'm going to be selling the business, Super's Pizza Inc. I have the license in front of me. Right now, they're not interested in the license. If they do become interested in the license, they'll apply for a license for the beer and wine.
So we're seeing something similar to what we just had presented a minute ago?
Yes, sir.
yeah. So you're giving, you're turning in
I'm
your
surrendering-
beer and wine?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And you're turning in your common victulars, and you're applying for a common
He
victulars?
wants
All right, and when is that
Okay.
transaction scheduled to
Have
take
you had a
place?
health inspection?
Yes,
You have? How did,
application's in there.
how did you get it done?
I had called
We went to the health office, scheduled it.
Is it current? What?
See, this is where we have a contradiction, if I may.
I know, but that's why I was wondering how he got.
The yellow carbon underneath is the health inspection. It's the original that the licensee receives.
I think you're clearly more persuasive and charming with the health department
Now,
than our
where
last
he had a beer
applicants
and
were.
wine, was he required to have a fire inspection?
Correct.
But
The
the other,
beer and wine licensees, all licensees, restaurants, clubs
Yeah.
that have, and hotels that have a liquor license are required to have a certificate of inspection to be renewed annually, and that entails inspection from inspectional services, which is now known as developmental services, and the fire department, and the certificate is to be signed by the fire chief and by the commissioner of developmental services, and that's done annually. Now, Super's Restaurant,
he won't need one.
he has it presently for the fact that he has the beer and wine license, but the applicant for the common victuals license, Mr. Patel, representing Saroj Corporation, is not required to have such a certificate because there would be no beer and wine.
Yeah, motion. Easy one. I make a motion?
Yeah, so you're gonna surrender the license right now?
I have it right here,
Right
sir.
there.
Yes.
Yeah, make a motion to accept the
Accept the
surrender
license. Yeah.
and approve the common victular.
I can bring that to you. I'll drop it
Yep.
off tomorrow.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor, say yes.
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 Thank you.
Thank you,
All
gentlemen.
set?
Luck to you.
Mr. Wynn, I'll drop that off to you tomorrow, sir.
All right, thank you. Okay, so this is the beer and wine license.
Do you think that's just because?
And he's gonna bring in the common victular.
Yeah, he's gonna bring that in tomorrow, and I can then issue the license for common victular to the new
Yep.
business.
Yeah, okay. Just to digress for one second, now is he he doesn't have a beer and wine, but a beer and wine, is he required to put up insurance?
Yes.
Under the new statute?
Yes, anyone with an alcohol license
Okay.
today, if they're a licensee for the first time, would have to show proof of their certificate of liability insurance for alcohol beverages.
Name in the city.
And the city would be a certificate holder. If you're applying for the renewal of a license, you have to show that you have the certificate of liability insurance. So all of our licensees, by December 31st, if they wish to have the license for the new calendar year, 2011, will have to have a certificate of liability insurance. We'll also have to have the certificate of inspectional inspection for the certificate of occupancy or certificate of the inspection.
Okay, have we sent out anything in advance to these guys?
Yes,
But they don't, he doesn't need it because he doesn't
need-
have a
no,
license.
The other guy, that's right, because he doesn't have a beer and wine.
the individual, the company that's
That's
taking
buying it,
over
no.
Super's Restaurant, at this point, since they're not an applicant for a license for beer and wine or all
And the
alcoholic,
same with the other guy, he doesn't need
they
it.
don't need to show their certificate of liability.
Right.
Or inspection for that matter.
Right, they don't need liquor liability because they're not selling liquor.
Next on the agenda.
We can start from the top. With respect to the special one-day license applications for all alcoholic beverages, Fernando E. Silva of the Holy Ghost Society for events at Holy Ghost Park at 65 Village Street, starting with this Sunday, September 26th, from 2 p.m. to 12 midnight, is a cancer research fundraiser. In conjunction with that particular event, the Holy Ghost Society has also applied for a sound amplification permit for Sunday starting from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., and this is to involve a disc jockey and band or bands with the sound system. Also continuing on with the applications for all alcoholic beverages for the events at Holy Ghost Park, starting Saturday, October 2nd, from 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. is a silver wedding reception. Saturday, October 9th, from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. is the Madeira Night fundraiser. Saturday, October 16th, from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. is the George fundraiser. Saturday, October 23rd, from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. is the Graciosa Night fundraiser. On October 30th, Saturday, 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. is the Betancourt fundraiser. On Saturday, November 13th, from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. is the Portuguese Dinner Night fundraiser. And last is Saturday, November 20th, from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. is the Holy Ghost Band Dinner fundraiser.
All your members are gonna be tapped out.
When are they gonna run a fundraiser for us? That's what I want. Introduce yourself for the record.
My name is Fernando Silva. I'm the vice president for the Holy Ghost Society.
Okay. All of these, I presume, are indoors, except for the September 26th. That's going to run till the amplified sound till 10 o'clock, okay? It should, and I'm not trying to tell you what to do or anything like that, but, it's getting later in the year and whatnot, and when you have something like that outdoors,
We don't usually have this one because the last one it was on a holiday.
Yeah.
Outdoors, that was our last one. But this one becomes for the cancer fundraiser. They come
Okay.
and ask us, so we kind of...
and 10 o'clock isn't late. I'm not saying that it is. 10 o'clock is not late for sound, but, if it was me and I was looking at it, I would run it on a Saturday night.
Well, the
Sunday
reason
night,
for that, because this was the last minute
That was
book.
left.
The Saturday was already booked,
Yeah.
so that's why they put on Sunday.
I'm sure it was, but,
And
you
we
know,
also
that's the way
have,
to look
as you
at it.
probably know, we have the sound meter and all that we check with our
Yeah,
police
yeah.
officers, they've been on the event and all that stuff.
And we
so-
haven't gotten any phone calls recently, so, we appreciate that, and we know you're trying the best you can. And, with these running till 2 o'clock in the morning, somebody at the door telling folks, please, when they exit the building and get in their cars, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, And
Well, we never had an event that goes up to 2 o'clock in the morning.
you haven't, and,
The most it goes is midnight, so,
okay.
outdoors.
If I could just interject one thing, just so I wouldn't be remiss in notifying the board, which I haven't taken the opportunity up to this point. The event that was on Friday before Labor Day,
Yeah,
I received a call the following week from a resident on Wedgemere Drive,
yeah,
which is right off of Douglas Road.
yeah,
And the woman I spoke with did voice some problems with the sound amplification on Friday night
Yeah.
of that 3 or 4 day weekend. I think it was the Loretto Feast.
Yeah, it was 3-day weekend,
And Friday evening was the first night of the
yes.
scheduled activities. And apparently that, to her mind and to the effects of which that she thought it was loud. Apparently she did take the time to speak to somebody on the grounds, and I don't know whether she called the police, but I did indicate to her that anytime there is such a call in, or if there is a problem, she should call it in, even if it's just a matter of letting it be known, even though they may be told by, the caller may be told by the operator at the dispatch in the police station that it's, you know, they already have it documented, but repeated calls do assist the police in the matter of whether to control the situation by going there or not.
Can I comment on that for future?
Sure.
First of all, we trying to kind of resolve this issue about the sound system because the way is the stage on your side
Yeah.
is directed, okay? We trying to accommodate because we're gonna go to the next meeting and try to represent to our members. So we're probably gonna end up changing that stage direction. And if that wouldn't happen, we're probably gonna stop installing a sound barrier on top of the roof of the house. We trying to work on that to see as much as we can to work on.
Yeah.
But just letting everybody know is like, for future calls, anything like that, probably this year is not gonna happen again because this is the last one we're gonna do. Just let us know whatever calls, if you can let us know, like the board of directors direct, we will do something about it because what we've been trying to do lately, we're using the sound meter, we go to the police office, we go into the Column Stadium, and we go all the way to Andover Street on the other side.
Yeah.
And taking the numbers off. And sometimes it's like we see like a car going by the meter, it's louder than what it's reading on the thing. We doing the best they can because the last thing we want to do is like accommodate neighbors on our neighborhood because we don't want to do that. What we're trying to do is like make whatever we have to do, our feast, whatever, but also making everybody else happy because we don't want to have unhappy neighbors because also it's going to become problems to us.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to do is accommodate everybody, and we're doing the best we can. And if they come into us and let us know, or if somebody will call us from over here, we will accommodate. Like if it's like, even if it's below what the meter sounds like, but if we have that call, we will turn that sound down. Because we will do everything you can to accommodate everybody. I mean,
Just for the record, I live in the neighborhood, and I think you guys are doing an outstanding job.
I appreciate
And
that.
I know that we've had calls here and there this summer, so I've paid a little more attention. I think you're doing a wonderful job, and I think by having the police officer with you and using the sound meter and keeping a log, you guys are protecting yourself and trying to do the best for the neighborhood.
Even on a Lorette Feast, what we did, because it was a 3-day event,
Yeah.
we built a tent, the whole size from the stage all the way to the house, try to close the sound in. And that probably did help a lot.
Yep.
And,
Oh, no,
I
I'm
mean,
sure
we
it
try
has.
to do everything we can to make it
I mean,
happen.
we go
But-
back to the days when we'd have 12 people here ready to hang you.
I
You
understand.
know, they were
But I
ready
mean,
to
believe me-
string you up by City Hall, so we know that you're trying.
Yeah,
We're
we've
just
been
trying to
3
make helpful
our board that's
suggestions.
over there now, we've been 3 years ago, 2 years ago. We haven't been there last year, but we are this year again. So, and our job is to make everybody happy, especially in the neighborhood. Because the last thing you want is have, upset neighbors.
Well, with that, I'll make a motion to approve the special one-day license and the permit for sound amplification on the 26th.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much, I
luck.
appreciate it.
Commission will now take up a matter to do with an application for a secondhand articles license, an application by Bartolome Paqueye, doing business as CPU Computer for premises at 231 Branch Street.
Okay, this the fellow we put up before?
No.
No, not the same one. Okay, introduce yourself for the record, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Bartolome Pacaya.
Okay. And tell us what you're gonna do.
Basically, refurbish computers, and try to make an extra bucks out of it.
You're gonna take old computers and do them over?
Yes, yeah.
So if I had an old computer, I can bring it down and sell it to you?
If it's fixable, maybe, But if not, it's just trash.
For the most part, does your inventory come from,
From
suppliers?
recycling companies. We put recycling companies.
Recycling, yeah. Okay. Yeah, like, you know,
Like the
like,
guy who was here last week, they come in and they,
yeah, like if you call and you get new computers for your office, they come, they
Oh,
take them
oh,
away, they
okay, like,
recycle.
yeah, oh,
Well, the old
okay.
ones go out, somebody refinishes them and resells them.
Okay. Well, that's becoming a business now.
business, yeah.
Yeah.
Just try to save the environment, you know.
Do you have any experience in the industry?
Yes, yeah. I learned electronics at about 18 years ago.
Have you ever dealt in secondhand articles?
In the past, yes. Mostly in the flea markets, but now we're trying to expand a little bit.
So if someone walks in off the street with the computer, what are you gonna tell them?
We're going to diagnose it and see what it needs, and if they want to fix it, we give them a reasonable price. If they say, okay, we'll fix it. If not, they'll take it back.
Will you purchase any computers from individuals?
No, not really.
Okay, you just know that our concern deals with, we just don't want people who are breaking into houses to come and unload computers at your shop, get
No,
cash,
no,
and
no.
turn it into heroin, you know? Okay,
I'd suggest you talk to the police department.
yeah, just work with them. They'll give you the guidelines for
How do
taking
you
what
get,
need.
you know,
Uh,
Well, from the recyclers you're
The
dealing with.
recycling company, like the churches, some they want to get rid of the old equipment, they just, give it to.
Church, but
and
church
then
maybe
they-
have two
They go
computers.
through it, and then whatever they don't want, they'll give it to us. We have people who have a business, recycling business, like in Lawrence. That's basically it, yeah. Like TVs, like the old TVs that people don't want to, instead of getting them in the landfill, we take them apart, we sell them for parts, and then we make a good, a decent living, and people who can afford a new TV, they can have it if we can rebuild
so
it.
you're gonna recycle television sets too?
TVs and computers, yeah.
You're talking basically like cannibalizing discarded machines.
Yes,
for
well, yeah,
working
yeah.
parts to build.
All you gotta do is drive around the city of Lowell, you can pick up a couple of dozen TVs this afternoon. They're all over the
Out on the
place.
curbsides, yeah.
Yeah, curbside, free business. Okay, I guess, you keep a record, like if somebody sells you a whole bunch of
Oh,
computers.
yes, yeah, we'll definitely keep a record.
They have a
and,
record of the numbers of what they sell you?
Yes, we would, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that, I'm looking at you, hoping you were gonna go some way. Is,
We'll be in to see him, and we'll bring a copy of the ordinance and let him know what he has to
Okay.
provide us as far as records.
all right.
Okay.
Just be on the lookout for the police department.
They're gonna come in, they'll tell you what they need as far as your record keeping for anything coming in. As far
Sure,
as used
sure,
equipment.
that's no,
right.
that'll be no problem.
With that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second,
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
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 Okay. Good luck.
Mr. Pakai, if you want to come by to see me about 10 o'clock tomorrow morning or thereafter, and we'll have a license for you. If you can want to come by tomorrow,
Tomorrow, 10
Monday?
Monday will be best.
Okay, so I'll see you Monday morning,
Oh, okay, good.
and license fee is $35.
Okay, I'll have it with me.
Good luck.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If one was to turn the agenda over, you'll see the You're ahead of me, Mr. Chairman. A review of scheduling for possible public hearing on the application for license for malt beverages and wine-only packaged goods store by the corporation known as Jay's Beer and Wine, Inc., Yujendra N. Patel, President, for premises at 166 Gorham Street. Attorney Michael Zame is the applicant's legal counsel. He's here to answer any questions regarding the application.
Introduce yourself for the record.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Attorney Michael Zane. I represent Jay's Beer and Wine, Inc.
What's going on with
Yeah,
this place?
tell us what this,
Well, again, and this is one of the reasons I was here. I did,
Let me bring you up to speed. We've had at least 2 memos discussing the status of the application, and one of the issues that was raised to us by the ABCC regarded total control of premises.
Correct, and this is,
address
this
that,
is, and again, this is how I think we initially filed on September 7th, the application with Mr. Nguyen at the License Commission office. When we did so, it was right at the same day that the new ABCC website came out and all the new forms needed to be done a certain way. And we corrected those items. My understanding is right around that same time, somebody from the ABCC came in to go over the forms and things with Mr. Nguyen. In the course of that, they had a discussion with respect to this particular application. And that's when I had a discussion with Mr. Nguyen and said that they had expressed some concerns. And I said, that's fine. I said, and then rather than putting it on and trying to go forward, I said, he was going to send a memorandum to the license commissioners in the law department for their review with questions and concerns. At one point during one of the conversations, I said that I'd make myself available to come here and try to address any of the concerns that either the board or the law department had with respect to the application and addressing those two specific issues with respect to the total control of the premises. And I don't know how familiar you are of the premises themselves, but this is over on Gorham Street, right in there's a little plaza as you are leaving just past Post Office Locksmith and heading outbound on Gorham Street. The Bishop Markham is on the right-hand side. Santoro's Sub Shop is in the area, and there's a little plaza there that has a convenience store there now. Inside that convenience store right now is 4,000 square feet. Inside the 4,000 square feet, there's a section presently that was formerly a laundromat. The equipment is outdated. The costs of maintaining it and upkeeping it and the amount of use it's gotten is not a profitable enterprise for them anymore. The gentleman who leases the 4,000 square feet is a gentleman by the name of Hashukumar Patel, or Harry Patel. The property itself is owned by Jignesh Patel, or Patel Family Realty Trust. No relation to each other, just coincidental last names, common in that nationality. With respect to the proposal is that, and I know you have a diagram in the package that we presented, and they propose on making a 1,500 square foot sublease to Yujendra Patel, who is no relation to Harry Patel, but a brother of Jignesh Patel, who is the trustee of Patel Family Realty Trust that owns the property. There's a sublease agreement, there's a lease agreement in the package and a sublease agreement in the package. Harry Patel, who's presently running Gorham Variety Street, Inc., doing business as Jay's Variety, has a lease through the middle of 2012, I think through July of 2012. Yojendra Patel is proposing to lease 1,500 square feet of the 4,000 square feet. And if you look at the diagram that's in there, is that it will be a complete and separate entity that is separated, lockable, so that for instance, if the variety store is open, it doesn't necessarily mean the proposed beer and wine store would be open. They do have separate entrances. You will be able to, if both places are open, you will be able to move from one store to the other, from one side of the store to the other side of the store. But in the diagram, you'll see that there are walls separating, if you will, for lack of a better description, a retail type door, the metal door with the glass, the doors that swing open. So that was one of the issues that we wanted to address to clarify that, and I don't know if you can see them on the plans, and I brought the actual full-size plans if that'd be helpful to you.
At some point, basically this is, well, what's the name of the store? The name of the store, the variety store that's there. So is this place gonna be known as Jay's? Is Jay's Variety Store? Is this gonna be a whole separate entity?
Yeah, Jay's Beer and Wine.
So this store is just gonna sell beer and wine,
Correct.
nothing else?
Nothing else.
And just for, I know it may not have anything to do with this right now, how close is the liquor store, the closest liquor store to this one?
My understanding is, and I think it's at the corner of what would be Central Street, and I'm not sure of the street that would run behind that shopping plaza. Is it Charles Street? Yeah, Charles, correct.
What is it, like 200 feet?
Pacific Liquors? Is that-
I don't know, but it wasn't, I know that it wasn't on the list of people we had to notify, so.
Or wasn't it a butter?
it-
That's neither here or there for this purpose, but just something to think about.
Yeah, no, in that area you have.
Where, is he gonna have a,
Okay, on this large map, where is the door entrance from the street for,
has to be over here?
is it toward us?
You come
No,
in
I
here,
believe it's this,
Comes in here and he goes across there, doesn't it? Isn't that the entrance?
this is one of the entrances.
Yeah.
There is another entrance over here, that, there's a back entrance as well as an exit from the building there.
So this is the parking lot that's in
This is
front,
correct. This is the parking
and this
lot
would
in front of
be,
it. This would be more toward the Gorham Street, would be up like that, where this area is here.
okay.
And this was the initial proposal, and then, this will be revamped so that there is exclusively,
Is this gonna be a solid wall, or is
yes,
that
it's
gonna be
gonna,
a
actually, it's gonna
walk?
be solid all the way through, going all the way down. This is another door that will open up and come through.
This, what's marked here as a closet is gonna be turned into a through door?
Door.
Okay,
That's actually gonna be a way to get into, from this building into that. From this side of the register area to the other side. I don't know if you're familiar with, very similar in design to store 38.
okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with the layout of that particular.
This is you coming in off the street.
Right, this is
Okay.
coming in off the street.
So on the left-hand side is the existing is gonna stay as the
Store,
stay as the store.
variety store.
And on the, then you're gonna have to
You're
go
gonna have this.
through here?
No, he said that's gonna be a solid door. That's gonna be, you said that was gonna be a
Okay.
solid wall. So the only way he's gonna be able to get across is up here by the bathrooms. Is that right?
Or, is this,
Yeah, that's gonna be, there's gonna be a door here.
which, is there gonna be a door on
Over here,
here?
you said,
Yes.
Or do you
right?
have to come through here right
No,
now?
you
There'll
don't,
be a door here.
you don't have to. There are doors there.
There are doors here.
Yes.
So that shelf is gonna come out then?
You just closed them, that's all.
All right, we'll cross off that shelf then.
All right, now this is gonna be a solid wall here. Right here, you said. They're not gonna be able to come in here and go across.
Correct.
Okay, that's gonna be a solid wall here. Then that's gonna run back to here, and the people are gonna be able to access the bathrooms through here
Correct.
and go into this door. Okay. Now, he's gonna have,
Will you take the beer and wine from one side and bring it into the other, or is it gonna be like that?
No, if you were to purchase beer and wine, it will be at the register on the beer and wine side. You're not gonna be able to go pick up an item here, cross into the other place, and vice versa. And the only other issue that I was aware of was a lease agreement, the lease agreement that is presently proposed was contingent upon an approval at the local and then obviously down in Boston. My understanding is the preferred way would be to enter into an agreement and then have an out clause, if you will, if the license were not approved. Then they would be able to null and void the lease, which, again, I mean, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, how you draw it up.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, just for purposes of at our last meeting, I believe it was on September 9th, when the matter of the application initially was discussed, and it was referred to the law department for a review. And to this point in time, I've heard nothing from the law department on such a review. And at that time, on September 9th, the question being was issue regarding indirect or direct interest in an application, which is the application by Jay's, the corporation, for this beer and wine license. And there was a question as Attorney Zame just mentioned, there are 3 Patels, 2 of whom are related brothers, one of whom is not, but just by nationality, the surname is identical. That question has not been addressed by the law department, to the best of my knowledge. Subsequent to that question being brought to the board, the issue of the board's referral to the law department, then the issue came up where I had a visit from one of the ABCC investigators. She had come in, offered to show me their new website and how it's interactive and anyone may have access to it and may utilize all of the information and may initiate the application to be submitted at the local level for a retail license, whether it be for a restaurant or for a package store. And in our conversation, the investigator and I shared with her this information on regards to the Jay's application, just to get a sense of direction where the licensing board ought to go, if need be at all. Quite frankly, she thought what I was attempting to do was above and beyond. In fact, she indicated to me as much that it's their role to fine-tune the application, to go through it and nitpick, if you will, to make sure that there's nothing not quite what it should be before they would say go forward with approving it, recommending approval to the Alcohol Beverages Control Commission itself. But in our conversation, she just mentioned in her quick review of the forms, and as the subsequent memo that I had submitted to the commission, in which I've shared both memos with Attorney Zame, and it was referred to the law department as the question of, as she indicated, the applicant has to show complete control of the premises. The applicant has to have a final lease agreement. Now, she indicated to me that in that final lease agreement, there can be a clause, which is perfectly understandable and not to be unexpected, is to show that it's an out clause, so that if the local board for cause denied the application, which is also subject to appeal, but in any event, that matter could be then, the lease could be voided between the parties involved, the lessee and the property owner. So, anyways, I would just share that with you for your.
If I just may follow up on, after speaking with.
They change their name, like have one Murphy, one O'Brien, then we can understand it a little. You've got one guy that owns the whole place, the whole building, correct? As I understand.
It's in a trust, yes.
Well, it's a trust, but he's the boss.
Yes.
Gignish is the one who actually
Harry's
is
the
in charge of, Gignish is in charge of the trust.
Gignish is the.
Harry, no relation, subleases from him, leases
He
from him.
leases the entire 4,000 square feet
And he's
right
gonna
now.
sublease 1,500 square feet
The area that's
back
presently.
to Gignish's brother,
Wouldn't it be easy if,
Yogendra, right? Is that the-
Yes.
Okay.
But as long as they're
what I had
gonna
in my
have,
flow chart.
I mean, in terms of my looking at this, if it's gonna be a complete separate facility where the beer and wine is, I mean, I would think that the sublessee has complete control, who is the applicant, has complete control over the premises where they are selling the beer and wine.
Let me ask you this, and this is, I guess, is this the reason you were raising it to the law department? Is the ABCC going to say that the premises are defined as the legal premises, and if it's not subdivided as its own unit, it's not gonna go through, or are they gonna say?
See, that's my thinking.
I mean,
Subdivide it.
And I raise it because we had this issue come up when we did the division with respect to the Lowell Beer Works and the brewery. Until there was actually a formal division of it, they wouldn't have a complete control issue resolved with your being in control of this portion of the premises, you're being in control of that. They actually had to split it into 2 addresses. So, and that's why I think you were going with that, or am I missing that completely?
No, okay, the other question is if he's got a lease on this from Harry? Is Harry-
When you say who are you referring to?
The guy that has the store, Chase?
Yes, he
Okay.
has a lease from,
Now, is
Harry
Harry,
leases this, and Harry's gonna sublease that.
Harry leases this?
Right, and he's gonna
But no, Harry's not making the sublease. The guy that's leasing the store is making the
Which is
sublease.
Harry.
who is Harry?
Who is Harry?
Jignish is the trust is the property owner.
Yeah, okay.
Jignish.
Harry right now has a
Where I'm
lease.
getting confused.
Trust?
Harry's got the trust and he owns.
No.
No,
No,
Jignish has the
it's, the trust owns the property.
yep,
Trust leases right now the entire store,
yep,
including the laundromat area,
yep, to Harry.
Right, Ignition Trust to Harry.
to Harry.
Harry's gonna divide his lease to himself and partial to Yogi.
Okay, who controls the trust?
Jignish.
Okay, is he, maybe that's what I'm getting, okay. Does he have that right? Does Harry have, I mean, Harry's leased the whole thing, does he have the right to sublease it?
He has the right under the terms with the consent of the consent of the owner, trust, Jignish, the property owner.
Harry's lease provides the authorization to sublease a portion of the
Correct.
premises.
And it's the standard language you see in that they, it's consent, but the consent will not be unreasonably withheld, which is pretty standard language in these types of agreements.
That's why lawyers make money, because it's not unreasonably withheld.
In this
The-
In this property address has one numerical address?
Well, that was one of the other issues that was brought up, is that apparently the street address was one that seems to have been self-adopted as 166 Gorham Street. I'm working with Ms. DeMayo, I believe her name is, from the City Engineering Department, to straighten that particular and have it recognized as whatever the correct numbers are supposed to be. Whether it turns out to be 164, because when we went down to the assessor's office, they gave us the address of 15 Charles Street, which is the back door of one of the back doors you see depending upon. So that's where we came up with with that particular address. But with respect to one of the other, I know that one of the concerns was whether or not there's, Mr. Nguyen had expressed a concern about the financial interest in the license and who has the financial interest in the license, and it's merely Yogendra or Yogi Patel. The rent does not fluctuate depending upon, we had a good or a bad week of selling alcohol, beer or wine. The rent is $1,500 a month. There is no, and that's when they're referring to an indirect financial interest. Nothing fluctuates based upon the performance of the place. If it does well, then it's, he'll stay. There's, rent, there is a rent escalation in it. As with time for 6 months, it's a certain fee, and then it goes up as time progresses.
And Yogi's going to indemnify both Harry and the trust?
Yeah, well, as he will have, there is indemnification language in it, and as a new licensee, he has to have the liability insurance.
That's right. I mean, now that Attorney Zame explains it, me personally, from the local level, I don't have an issue with it, but I don't know what the ABCC is gonna say when there's this whole unit over here that has the same address as this unit right here. But in terms of my point of view, they are separate, just like, as he said, at store 38, you walk in, to the left is the package store, to the right is the variety
I
store.
think as Attorney, Commissioner Weicker just mentioned about in regards to the brewery exchange matter, in which the first floor ends up being the Lowell Beer Works.
Right.
And the existing licensee, which relinquished the first floor as part of its licensed premises and now retains the second and third floors, which is the brewery exchange, it's known as WKA Investments LLC. It's my recollection, that the ABCC insisted that there be two separate numbers. And so that for purposes of your future research with the city engineer, it might be something to consider.
But was it two separate numbers because there were two licensees at the same address? Where this, there's only one licensee at that address. In that case, there were two at the same address.
That's correct.
Right.
But even if presently the convenience store, just so that there's no, if they were to say it's 166 Gorham Street as it's been submitted as the application,
Right.
and they both hold that numbered address, there may be some misunderstanding, some confusion on the part of investigators, inspectors, city police, as where the actual, presumably any violation that may come about in the foreseeable future, there would be.
So the ideal situation would be the city engineering department to issue one address, maybe the 166 for that convenience store that's already there, and with this new
A and B.
heading being 168 or
Is it,
170.
I'm glad, that Mr. Nguyen got a hold of us. We appreciate the opportunity. We'd rather have everything on, everything done right, so when you guys approve it, and it goes up into Boston.
You're gonna have two clerks in there?
Pretty presumptive there, huh?
Look aside.
We haven't even had a public hearing yet. You're already talking about when we approve it.
No, when and if it's approved, we'd rather have it done correctly the first time, so they're not, facing having to come back.
Schedule a hearing on it?
Well, I would suggest to the board, whether we hear from the law department or not, for fairness to the applicant and the legal counsel representing the applicant, Commission can hold a public hearing, say for October the 21st, the meeting of October the 21st, so a legal notice can be published for the Friday, October the 8th, for a hearing on October 21st, in which the applicant has to notify property owners touching, and there are two churches within 500 feet of the premises. I don't think I made that list available to the Attorney's aim yet, but there is the two churches. In fact, there is right smack up against the wall of the laundromat is the church. And then about a block away, 2 blocks
St.
away,
John's.
is the Episcopal Church,
Right.
right near the Superior Courthouse. So those two are within 500 feet, and those two would be notified as any property owner touching. And I believe Attorney Zame has the list of property owners touching.
Yeah, I think, I know through experience that the law department hasn't been very timely lately. So I think to penalize Attorney Zame and his applicant, it would be great to schedule it the 21st.
All right,
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it, We'll hope they get back to us by then.
Is it improper for Attorney Zame to contact the law department and say, nobody represented the meeting and, just to
No,
move the thing along rather than
The law
have-
department, I think I can just say I think I was very fortunate to have the investigator from the ABC come to the office when she did, in which she kind of, much as told me, it's all well and good what you're doing, but the fact of the matter is, and I think Attorney Zane probably and any of the other members of this commission who are well acquainted with dealing with the ABCC know firsthand that the ABCC, they don't miss anything. They make sure all the I's and T's are touched. And I'm sure if we don't get the answer one way or the other from the law department, we certainly will know that the ABCC will
Okay.
due diligence.
October 21st?
Thank you.
Seconded?
Seconded, yeah.
All in favor, yes?
Yes.
October 21st.
Thank you. You gonna hold on to that?
Yep.
The plans?
You wanna hold on to it?
Do you want this back?
If you want to keep.
We marked it up a little.
It's okay.
You gonna do something new, or is that?
No, we'll probably do a finalized version with the shelf moved in the door, so if you want to keep that, that's fine.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next.
Commission, we have an application for entertainment license. Application by Dama Buns LLC, DBA The Dama Buns Sandwich Company, John J. Caprioli is the manager. Malt beverage and wine restaurant licensee for premises at 26A Market Street. Request a temporary license for Saturday, October 2nd, which would pertain to an acoustic guitar player. The entertainment is in conjunction with the Kerouac Literary Festival, which is a 3 or 4 day event.
Introduce yourself for the record.
John Caprioli.
What are the hours, Mr. Caprioli?
Approximately 6 to 8, I think he wants to do this. It's
6 p.m. to 8 p.m.?
Yeah, it's the filmmaker Brent Mason who's going to be doing his documentary at our place on Sunday. He's from Canada. He's coming down for the Kerouac Festival, and he had called me up and he had asked me. He says, you know, I also, besides doing the documentary filmmaking, I perform acoustically. I said, that's fine. I said, but I temporarily have my license suspended, so I says, I can ask whether or not you can do it, but it's up to you guys, I guess.
How's the, are you soundproofing the place?
We're in the process of it. It hasn't been completed yet, no.
It hasn't been complete, but you are in the process?
Yes.
And this guy's just gonna play acoustically?
Yes.
And what day is it? It is,
It's not on the schedule.
right?
It's gonna be Saturday. And like I said, I asked him what time, and he wants to do it early, around 6, 7 o'clock.
So if we gave you a license from 5 to, say, 10 p.m., that'd be all right?
Well, I think that would cover more than everything, yes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Did you want the check now?
Yeah, if you will, and I'll,
I haven't actually made it out yet.
Do we do this? Do we have to do this?
just going back a little bit on the agenda, with regard to the special one-day license application for malt beverage and wine only. At our last meeting on September 9th, there was an application by Cheryl Mara, representing the Parent Association of the Lowell Catholic High School, in which they had a scheduled event for the Saturday, September 18th, from 7 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Apparently, because of poor ticket sales, the event itself was canceled, and so they let the office know that the need for the license was not required, and so for purposes of canceling the license, I requested a communication in which was submitted, and just for the record, that license was, you could. Had they paid for it? No, they hadn't paid for it. So just for the record, it's been canceled. Okay.
Just before we get to communicate, while Secretary Wynn is looking for that stuff, I had talked to some people, or run into some people, and they had posed a question to me, and then I had looked it up. I guess, well, I know we discussed Facebook with Chairman Bayless last meeting, and
Tried to explain what it is.
and tried to explain what it is, and I guess apparently a lot of establishments are having their own Facebook pages now, where they're announcing, acts that are performing or specials that they're having. And one person addressed the question. I guess a couple of different establishments within the city are advertising drink specials on certain nights. And I know that, I believe with drink specials, you have to offer that price for a week. It can't just be for one day. Is that correct?
I think it's actually, I thought it was just, it had to be the entire day. You couldn't have happy hours, but the price had to be
The
the same all
ABC
day.
regulation requires that drink prices have to be set for a calendar week.
Ah, okay.
So starting Sunday through Saturday, and that drink price must be consistent, and you should have, each and every licensee should have a list of prices. Now, they may offer a special, or they may announce a special during the calendar week, but if, in fact, a customer was to request such a beverage any other time other than that particular date of the promotion during that calendar week, that if the product is available, the price should be whatever the promotion is, much said.
That's just what I wanted to get clarifying, because someone had asked me about that, and I know some of the establishments, especially if they, they should be up on there.
Yeah. What do we, while we're talking about things like that, what are we gonna do, there was a promotion on television last night on Channel 5 about Budweiser, the sale of Budweiser beer has dropped off tremendously. Of course, they're not American beer anymore, And I'd like to believe people aren't buying it because it's not American, but, anyways.
I'm going with taste. but
They're
okay.
giving away, they're going to be giving away some 50,000 cases of beer to be given away to bars and restaurants and whatnot to promote their beer. And this was on television last night. How do they handle that? Because
Well, that's a state matter, first and foremost. That would have to fall under the Alcohol Beverages Control Commission.
they'd go to them first and say, this is a promotion, and
The only way a licensee that's been granted such a license in the cities and towns in Massachusetts, the only way they can legally obtain their alcohol is by purchase through a state licensed distributor or wholesaler or importer, which has to be licensed by the state, which is the Alcohol Beverages Control Commission. Otherwise, it's illegal to offer and or sell, obtain any alcohol. I think the complaint we were dealing with on September 9th, which Lieutenant Hodgson had pointed out, the matter of the El Rincon restaurant had a promotion which supposedly the licensee had no control over. But in fact, the promotion was through the Facebook website
right.
that a certain product could be had if you walked in with 10 people or more at no charge. But the fact that that product was there in the first place was an illegality and should have been cited as, the commission could have very easily have cited the licensee for that illegality for having that alcohol without having obtained it or having a receipt for having purchased that alcohol through a distributor. But that is...
Did you happen just to print these out? We were both thinking the same thing at the same time?
Well,
or-
somebody sent an email yesterday afternoon, a gentleman sent an email, I forwarded it to Captain Webb and to Lieutenant Hodgson, and I believe they may have done something on the matter as recently as last night, I don't know. But in any event, for the board's discussion, the licensee Hookslide Kelly's has promoted a event called Beer Pong. And I never heard of beer pong until I did a Google search on beer pong, and through the website Google, Wikipedia, it defines what the beer pong is all about. And,
So tell us.
well, essentially it's...
No, don't.
It's like a...
But
You don't have to.
It promotes binge drinking, which I think is something that we shouldn't be promoting as a license.
I'm pretty sure there's actually like a regulation that prohibits any drinking games that prohibit or that encourage alcohol
The
consumption.
question is, was the state regulation prohibiting free drinks and practices that are considered illegal as far as promotion of drinking is concerned? Does this particular activity fall under that, and is it an illegality in that regard? I don't know if Captain Webb has anything to offer in this, if there was any firsthand information.
Well, members from the Vice Squad went into Hookside Kelly's last night to see if this game was actually going on. And it was, but they also found that the cups didn't have beer in them, they had water in them, so maybe they were being careful last night. But beer pong is a drinking game that's being promoted. I have a question about cash prizes for any games that might be going on in a licensed establishment. I'm not sure if that's something that's allowed or not. And the other thing we found was that, very similar to the Elmer and Cone, when the detectives went in and questioned what was going on, they were told, oh, that's being run by the promoter. So we're running into a phenomenon where many of the licensees have promoters coming in, and they're actually running the activity in the establishment rather than the licensee.
I think we should have the law department do some
a
research
letter.
on this.
No, yeah, but a letter also. I think that the law department should write a letter should be addressed to every licensee, explaining to them in layman's terms the legal ramifications of having a promoter, that this does not absolve them of their responsibility, et cetera, et cetera. I think the law department needs to do that, not because I think it needs to be on, stationary and let these people know. I mean, I just don't, I'm not saying that the last guy didn't know or didn't know. Sometimes you say, how can you, they have a responsibility to learn the law. They're in that business, they should know the law, but.
And if,
Go ahead.
well, and if, and just on a side note, in terms, listen, I'm no saint and I've done this before, but
No,
in terms of a licensed establishment within the city promoting a game that is involved in binge drinking, I mean, if it's not a state regulation, I think we should make it a city regulation to prevent this type of activities to happening in licensed establishments. Because no good can come out of this. Yeah, it's fun to play, the kids have a good time, but it's not promoting a healthy lifestyle, we're encouraging a non-healthy lifestyle, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna deny having played in my day, but,
I didn't even know
probably
what
not a
it
good
was
idea.
for crying out loud.
Good
That
idea
guy's
to-
making me feel old.
not a good idea to have this, it's
We
more
never
of-
did stuff like that when I was
It's
growing
more
up.
of a frat house game than it is a,
One of the things I can tell you is that in my conversation with the ABC investigator, she mentioned one thing in regards to licensees who cease to operate the business or have never taken the license to begin with. And there is only the general law of Massachusetts under Chapter 138, Section 77, in regards to cancellation of a license for non-payment of the license fee. But in fact, it was her suggestion that the licensing board should consider a regulation which is, defines cause for canceling licenses. And so she had pointed out to me in the ABC website, notice to retail licensees and an advisory regarding when a licensee ceases to conduct the business or is, what I thought initially with regards to super restaurant,
Yep.
what they were going to do is to try to hold the license for that numbered address without actually
Working it.
surrendering to be canceled. But Jamie Super basically stated that he was gonna surrender that license for cancellation, which he just did at this meeting.
do we have any pocket licenses floating around out
Yes, we
there?
do, sir.
Okay.
Yes, we do. And my anxiety is kind of rising a little bit because now we're coming to that time of the calendar year where all licensees have to renew. And the issue of pocket licenses do exist. There are several right now and that are out there. The commission would have to address these particular license holder on the matter of canceling the license, not allowing for the renewal. But that's for subject for a meeting in the near future. But with that in mind, a local regulation regarding defining what would be justification for canceling a license, and also a regulation defining these type of games where, as a promoter has no legal right, has no responsibility for the premises.
Right.
And to promote, and even if the licensee says, I didn't have any control over this, it's.
Well, that's why I was so
advertisements.
amazed that they were saying that the promoter put this stuff on the Facebook page, and the guy that owned the business didn't even know about it. And I'm saying, how do you let people do that to your business?
I'm
It's
kind of
just
of the
so-
opinion that, if you hire a promoter, they're your employee.
Yeah,
That's it. I mean, it's the same as if you hire a bartender. You can't walk in and go,
Or a
oh, it was the
lawyer.
bartender who did it.
Or a
You know,
lawyer.
I mean, the promoter is the employee of the license holder, even if it's only for that day. That's the way I look at it. I mean, it's not,
so.
because these promoters are not license holders, and for a lot of them, there's reasons why they're not license holders. Okay, so
Right,
as far as I'm concerned, they're
so we-
employees. So,
If you're aware of people that have pocket licenses, I think we should come up with a list so that we can start to, we don't want to wait till the renewal time and then start to address all of it. I think we need to put them on notice of the regulation and say, this is what, and as far as your suggestion on a regulation of canceling, should the law department draw that up, or is that
Well,
something
we can
you-
request of the law department that they review the,
Okay, then I would make that motion that the law department, it's got to be approved by the city council, right?
no, it's a license commission. But here's the point, is that you would hold a hearing on the matter of regulations
Right.
for purposes of the license commission. So the idea is that, and I'm sure the law department might say this up front, is you can't supersede the law, but there's a way in which you can embellish the law and act to try to give more teeth to the
Okay, well,
regulation.
between this pocket license, between the insurance certificates and stuff, between the Board of Health certificates and the fire inspection, I think all of these things need to be, a reminder, if you will, or a checklist, if you will, should be sent out to everyone so that nobody's coming in here the day before screaming, saying, I didn't know, no one told me that I had to do this. I know that you bend over backwards, and I'm sure that I can speak for the other commissioners and myself. We appreciate it. You come in, people come in, and you really bend over backwards for them. It's September, but they're gonna renew within 90 days. You need to get something out to them, just say, these are things that we're gonna be looking for. Let's have them on hand so we don't have any problems at the
when do
last
those
minute.
inspections have to be done? Within how many days of the renewal? Is it within,
Well, hopefully, the fire department and the developmental services are now starting their inspections, or having a list of the schedule to follow. And
well,
It
I know
don't
the
have to
fire,
be-
I know the fire department has already started scheduling
Yeah,
them, so.
it doesn't, as long as they give him, or give them, a certificate within the next couple of months, it's fine. I mean, and that's where they should be doing. They shouldn't all be charged. Then the thing that happens there is they wait till the last minute, and then they all run down at the fire department and give inspectional services or the fire department a lot of grief over the fact, well, you should have had this done over the course of the next couple of months, so it's out of the way.
Well, I, just in terms of, I'd like to make a motion that we have the law department draft 3 regulations.
Okay.
One, the first one would be regarding licensees who fail to conduct
The business.
business at the licensed premises. The second one would be as to the admittance of 18 plus, or strike that, 21 and under.
Under 21?
Under 21, yes, excuse me, under 21. After 10 PM in a licensed establishment without a parent or guardian. And the third one would be as to the promotion of, or the allowance of drinking games or any other games within a licensed establishment.
Good? I'll second it.
I'll second it. I think the law department may have to address, when you say anybody under 21 in a licensed establishment, does that mean, the issue will be raised, you know, somebody goes out to eat at Outback and it's 10:30 and they're 20 years old, you know, and we're talking at the bar
We're
areas.
talking at the bar areas, because I know we had this discussion a couple months back, and there was the same thing, if someone wanted to go to a Lowell hockey game.
Right.
And then bring their kids to or even if you're 20 years old and you want to go to Cobblestones for dinner after.
Right.
They shouldn't be precluded from doing that. But then there's places like,
El Rincon.
El Rincon, where
It's a club.
it's
Right,
a
not
club,
restaurant,
and there's
right.
not people coming after a game to go in there to get something to eat. And that's, you know, I don't know how we'd address that, but that's what I'm asking the law department to look at. I know,
I think initially-
Assistant Solicitor Leahy
He had drawn up
had
something.
drawn up something that he took from Lawrence, so if he could just get that in front of us again so we could review it, it would be
Plus the other
appreciated.
two
Plus the
items.
other
Yeah.
two.
All right, I'll second that.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Anything else?
No, just quickly, I know I brought some other material, but I'm trying to get, I know Commissioners Occasion and Weicker would appreciate this. I'm not so sure you would, Mr. Bayless, but this is interactive map.
Oh, interactive, oh my God.
You have to have a computer to use this.
Oh, okay.
You've got a computer, right?
I got one.
Okay.
Benjamin will show me how to do that.
Your grandson is how old?
He's 7 years old, he'll
All right.
pop that thing up in 3 seconds.
Get him to set your computer up so you can go to this page.
Well, what I'm gonna try to hopefully do is Joe Donovan from the MIS office took down a list of licensees. And I think Captain Webb might be familiar with the map in which you could just pinpoint any one of those tacks and it will identify where it is, the type of license that's presently there, and goes on and on, but it's all on the computer, it's all interactive now. This
You think
particular,
the city will buy me a computer so I can do, can I talk to Bernie, ask him to get a computer so I'd be able to do this?
You know, we
It's
just
a
had a guy,
low-budget operation, we got 1 pen for 4 guys.
hey, we just had a guy in here who's gonna be repairing old computers. You could probably get a, you know.
so I'm trying to
good
see
price
if,
on it. Recycle.
if you can access it by way of your remote location, be it at the office or at home, so that, but right now, if you were to go upstairs to my office, I could show it to you if you want to take a time.
That'd be so exciting, just like watching wet paint dry. Just sit there.
But I think a map like that would be very helpful in when we have new licensees apply as to where the other licensees are
Well,
located
you
in
gotta
the
mass
city.
them, see?
Sure, because everybody asks, they say, well, you know, where's the nearest establishment? And it'd be nice if we could sort out what are the restaurants, what are the bars, you know, what are the liquor stores, you know, and that would be, and I think a lot of the people who are applying, you know, may also go online, look at the map, and then talk
I'm
about,
not sure that this information would become public access at the moment, I'm not sure
Okay.
about that, but I would hope that we can make it access to certain.
Okay,
So I think if it might be password related.
Gonna give me the secret word? Anything else?
it's probably gonna be like Benjamin or something for the password.
Do we have to go over these communications or we're good?
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Good thing somebody knows.
Not to extend it, I just.
Yeah, because the meeting wasn't.
With
moving
respect
along
to
fast
communications, the superintendent of police has filed 3 letters relating to sale to minors. First being Scott's Food Mart at 1460 Middlesex Street, Sean Ganem, the 7-Eleven store at 55 Chelmsford Street, and the Middle Street Village Smokehouse at 92 Middle Street, each of which had been tested for their ability to detect if there was anyone under age, and apparently those establishments allegedly did sell or serve to a person under 21.
October 21st? Can we get them in sooner?
You could, we have Middle Street Village coming in for a complaint for October 7th. Question is, on that one alone, you might, because of the hour matter in which you wanted, if you were to decrease their hours as it relates to this particular complaint, then we would need more time, say to the 21st, but Scott's Food Mart and Sean Ganem, since it's only package store licensees and it doesn't pertain to their hours of operation, wouldn't be applicable, so you could theoretically have them in for October 7th.
Have them in, get them in.
So as far
So we'll
as,
make a motion to put Scott's Food Mart and Sean Gannon, DBA 7-Eleven on for hearing on October 7th, 2010.
Seconded.
Second.
All in favor, yes? Okay.
Yes.
And the Middle Street Village on for DBA, the Village Smokers, October 21st, 2010. And we'll send them a letter about the decrease in hours.
Yeah.
Seconded for the second one, all in favor?
Yes.
All right. All in favor, second? Yep. Okay. Is that it? You sure now?
Yeah.
'Cause I want to run upstairs and see this map. I know I'm going to get excited. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Benjamin, we're coming home.